Hey everyone, in the previous video we used the concat function, the text join function and the join operator to combine the first and last name. And now let's do this with VBA. And if you're just starting with VBA, then that's totally fine. But in such case, I assume that you may not even have this developer tab enabled on the ribbon. So in such case, we need to go to File and then Options. And here in the Customize ribbon, in the main tabs, there is the Developer tab, which we will have to check and click OK. And I have already done this. And then in the Developer tab, we can either click this Visual Basic button or use the shortcut combination here, which I always prefer to do. So Alt F11. And if you're opening the Visual Basic editor for the first time, then maybe you don't see all these sections that I have. But in such case, the minimum sections that you will need for this video will be the Project Explorer, the Properties window, and the Immediate window. And if you don't see these, then you can go to the View menu and add them here. So these are the Project Explorer, the Properties window, and the Immediate window. And once done, from this Insert Module button here, we need to insert a module, not a class module, just a module. And here I'm going to start writing a subroutine, which is just the VBA word for a procedure. So I will call this concatenate names, or maybe merge names, it doesn't matter. And the first thing that I'd like to do here in this video is to learn how to refer to cells and to get the values from the cells in the immediate window. So if I want to print here, let's say the name in cell B6, then I can write here in the immediate window question mark. And there are two main approaches to refer to cell values. So I can write here range, and in parentheses and in double quotes, write B6. And if I want to be more descriptive, then I can even add the dot here and get the value property, which is what we did by default. So that's one way. And another way, and which I normally tend to prefer, is using the cells property. And this time we need to pass the row index and the column index. So cell B6 is on the 6th row and on the 2nd column. Now if we want to print values from the worksheet in the immediate window, but from the subroutine, we can use the debug print command, and here I can write cells just like we did before on row 6 and column 2 value. Now let's first learn also how to print multiple names. So let's start with these 5 names then. To print these 5 names, we will write a loop. So just to show you a very easy example, I will write for I equals 1 to 5. Next I. Let's print the word pizza in the immediate window. So if I click around here, we will see the word pizza printed 5 times. And I can also concatenate here the variable I. I'm gonna concatenate it with the dash. So if I now click run, we can see how the variable that we use in the loop changes. So if I want to print these 5 names, I can change the loop a little bit to start not from 1 to 5, but from 2 to 6, because it starts from the 2nd row to the 6th row. And I will once again show the two approaches. So one is with the range. I can write here debug.print range. The column is A, and we can concatenate this with I dot value. So the first time it enters the loop, I will be 2, and this will become cell A2. Then it's going to be A3, A4, and so on. Another way, using cells property, is to simply write debug.print cells. This time the row will be I and the column will be 1 dot value. So if I now comment this, Excel will ignore these 3 lines and will execute only this one. And we once again see the first names in these 5 cells here. And if we want to combine them, then all we have to do is add a space here and use the ampersand to combine this with whatever we have on the same row and column B, which is with column index 2 dot value. So I will click run now, and we can see here the first 5 names combined. Now obviously we don't need to print this in the immediate window. We need to populate here column F with the merged names. And to do this, we need to know for how many rows we need to apply the same logic. Now I know that the last row here is 50, so I can hard code here 50, but that's not a good practice because there could have been 100 or 1500 names. And to do this, we need to find the last row in the dataset. And I have a dedicated video for this, and I don't want to spend too much time explaining it, but practically what we will have to do is go to the very last cell in column A and then kind of click Control up and get this row. So back in the immediate window, I can write cells. The row will be rows.count and column 1.end Excel up.row. And if I now click enter here, Excel returns 50. And just to show you that it works, if I add some gibberish values here and click here enter again, it now changes to 58. So what I like to do in such cases is to declare a variable, and for this we can use the word dim, which is short for dimension, and I like to call this variable last row, and it's going to be of data type long. And here we can write that the last row will be cells, the row will be rows.count, and the column will be 1, and Excel up.row. And instead of hard coding here from I equals 2 to 6, we will change this to last row. And instead of printing values in the immediate window, we will write that the values in the cells on row I and column 6, because I believe F is the 6th column, that value equals cells on row I and column A, that value, ampersand an interval, ampersand cells on row I and column B, that value. And if I now click run, we can see that we have achieved the same with VBA. Now you might be thinking that's too much work for something that we have functions available, and I agree, but just to show you that in real world example, you can add multiple instructions here. So just to show you, I can also maybe change the font to bold, and maybe change the color. So this interior.color equals to, let's say, blue. So if I now click run, yeah, maybe not the best color to show, but we can do multiple things with just a click. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, drop those in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.